everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fantastic Fun Folds. In tonight's episode we will be looking at a gatefold slimline card. It's inspired by one of my downline who shared a few weeks ago a Christmas card that she made, and it was a gatefold slimline. But I've got a little bit of a twist on mine to make it a bit more my own, I guess you could say. Anyhow, my name is Tatiana. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in Australia, and I blog and stamp and create at Tatiana Creative Stamping Adventure. Thank you so much for joining me. Hello, Tanya. Nice to see you. Well, I don't see you, but anyway, nice of you to join me. Please do say hi. You know you're watching live if you see the red live there. Otherwise, you're watching a recording. Please still do say hi and let me know if you have any questions and comments. I'm going to use a stamp set, which is the poinsettia petals, because it is Christmassy. So let's start with this. Let's head to the craft desk. Okay, let's get started. As I've already said, we'll use the poinsettia petals, and I'm going to go with a pink and green combo. It's a bit of a Christmassy, different Christmassy kind of combo. Pink, green and silver actually. So, but let's create our card base. So because this is going to be a gatefold, which opens up from the middle outwards, the base is really easy. It's 1/3 of an A4 sheet. When using less so, 1/3 of an A4 sheet is 9.9. Oh, thank you, Tanya. Actually, this is regular nail polish, which is unusual for me. But anyway, so the base is 9.9, which is this way, and it's the full width of the A4 sheet, which is 21 centimeters. And if you're using letter, it was hard to divide the height of the letter, which is 11 inches, into 3 equal parts. So I've kind of divided into 3.5. Well, I did some Googling and found that most people do it at 3.5 inches. So this piece for you would be 8.5, which is your full width of your letter paper, and then 3.5 inches there. Then what I'm going to do is make sure I've got the right side. So I'm going to score 1 centimeter from the side here, and if you're in inches, score 1 inch from the side, and this just means that I can score once instead of scoring twice. And then I'm going to cut this in half, and that is at 9.9. And if you're in inches, you cut it in, you'll have to cut twice, 3.5 and 3.5, and you'll be left with 1/2 inch there. And then the gatefold traditionally kind of meets in the middle, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to make my gatefold have one side to be 2/3 and the other side to be 1/3. You'll see when I put it all together. Let's start with the 1/3 half. Well, it's not really a half. Let's start with the 1/3 section, which I need to cut at 8 centimeters. And then this one I need to cut at 15 centimeters. Now I haven't worked out the equivalents in inches, so bear with me, but if you're watching this on YouTube, that means that my blog post is already up, and all the directions will be in there, well, all the measurements. And then I also need a piece of Whisper White. Need to grab that, because I like to have a insert in the card so that I can write, and that is at 9.4 centimeters. There we go. And then needs to be trimmed down, just needs to be trimmed down 5 millimeters for my liking, so I'll just measure that 5 millimeters off. But if you want to know, that's 20.5 centimeters wide. And for inches, that is, you'll cut it at 8.25 by 3.25 inches. And that creates that insert right there. Let's do some assembling. We're going to take our 2 bits with the score lines and burnish those folds so that we can have the card sit nice and flat. And you really have a choice here. You can attach these You can add the attaching to the back so that you can see that from behind, or you can attach them on the inside here, and then when you glue on the insert, it kind of hides that attachment, and that's the method I'm going to use. So for the attaching, I will use Terran tape. Ooh. But before I do, I'm going to decide which way I want it to open. Do I want the... Let's go with the larger size on this side. Okay. I'm going to add the Terran tape to that. It's 1 centimeter. If you're in inches, I suggested 1/4 of an inch, which is exactly the width of the Terran tape. So you may want to add 1/16 of an inch to that, but it's really up to you. And the take your pick pointy end is really good for peeling that off, and then just line that up. And pretty. And repeat for the other side. Again, lining it up so it's nice and straight. And the benefit of doing the fold on top instead of tucking it behind is that it really does match up beautifully. Whereas if you stuck it to the back of your card base, that little bit of wrapping around does cause it just to have a little bit of a gap. Whereas here it's nice and closed, and you won't really notice it too much when you add your insert in the middle there. But I'm not adding, I'm not sticking that down just yet because I will stamp on it. But let's first stamp our poinsettias, and I am going to stamp them on Petal Pink. Just going to grab some pieces of Petal Pink that Blushing Bride. I don't know why I said Petal Pink. Blushing Bride. Let's use this piece. And we will need... Hey Kayla, nice to see you. Well, nice of you to join, or gosh, I'm not very good at the wording. Hey, thanks for joining me. There we go. I'm going to add, nope, those flat. Just checking to see that what can be added there. Do you know what, this Petal Pink piece isn't big enough. Nope, that hole isn't working. Okay, I'm happy with that. And I need... Hey Judy, thanks for joining me. Now, I'm going to mount all of these. Where are my blocks? Where have I put my blocks? I've been using them. I was playing with some new products this afternoon quickly before the school pickup thing, you know, because I wanted to do. Oh, you like my colour choices? Thank you. During on stage I made some Christmas cards, and I did Blushing Bride, and I did what I'll show you a bit next, but I'm going to change it up. So I am going to heat emboss these flowers, and I've chosen silver. Your PPP should arrive tomorrow. That's so awesome. My PPP arrived already, and I haven't really played, though I did label, and I thought it would be fun to bring out the brand new blending brushes. I have been too scared to put ink to these, so tonight we shall put ink to them. Okay, I've got my 3 there. I'm going to grab my Versamark, which I just ordered a new one, I like to stamp and add the powder as quickly as I possibly can, and then I'll heat set it all at once. So that's the smallest. Well, we'll get to see them a bit in action tonight. There we go. And then just by tapping on the cardstock. You're scared to snap them? I don't think they're snappable, to be honest, Judy. They are so flexible. Like, that is, it's got some good, it doesn't feel snappable. Like, if I was to bend the spoon, I would feel like I could snap it. But using that, no. Who knows? Maybe I'll be the first. Yes, you can hold them by the oval part. I have other blending brushes and I don't tend to hold them there, so, but they're not as bendy as ours. So we shall see. That's partly why I haven't inked these up yet. It's like I don't need to, but I want to. Okay. Got my silver done. Close the Versamark ink pad. Put away my embossing powder, and I always get some on the desk and I didn't use. No. Whew. It's okay. Just gonna tidy up the desk. Well, not tidy. Tidy I did before the live. There. Okay, now heat emboss. I'm glad I'm providing some humor tonight as well. Always happy to provide some humor. You should have seen me at onstage, Tanya. I was trying to be so careful because I was working on the kitchen bench while heat embossing. It's like, I don't want to get this where we're about to prepare food. Well, not that we prepared food per se. Oops, sorry, just plugging in the phone. I'm letting the heat tool heat up a little bit, for a lack of better word. And mess is part of the fun of crafting, that is true. But I don't know, gets to a point where I can't work when it's too messy. You should have seen my desk. Now you should be able to see that changing. If I angle it a bit more, you should see the magic of heat embossing. Except I don't want to heat my fingers. And you can tell you've set it all when you shine it towards the light or lean it towards the light, and you can see bits that are not quite melted. There we go. I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to take Rococo Rose ink, and I'm going to blend some Rococo Rose on the tips of these flowers. So I've picked up some of that, and oh, it's so soft and pretty. Oh my goodness. Oh, so pretty, but I need to add some paper. We had to throw out 2 containers of embossing powder. They went off. I didn't think embossing powder could go off. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to keep the blending to the tip. So let's see, holding these. If I hold them by the handle, it works. But if I hold it by the oval, I have a lot more control. So there's my observations. And I'm trying to get the tips darker than the centers. Now you may think that's a bit strange, but when you place the flower all together, so the layering, you'll find that this little bit of tonal variation that I'm adding with the blending brush is going to just give it that really different look. For those who are watching who are not demonstrators, or your avid Stampin' Up customers but have not seen these in the catalogue, I should explain that they are only available to demonstrators at the moment. You were able to purchase them as a treat for attending on stage, which is our convention, which was held last weekend. Not the weekend that just passed, the weekend beforehand. And I did order them, and I have to say I'm loving them. They are so awesome. Good to know, Judy. Use your embossing powders, people. They can get old. So heat emboss, because you know it's quite magical, so you don't want to make that. Don't want to lose your embossing powders. Hello, moth. What you doing? This color is going on so smoothly. This is a lot of fun. Are you gonna craft with me? Shoo, shoo. Got a moth here. I don't want you blended in to my ink pads. So pretty. Of course, if you don't have a blending brush and you can wait to purchase, you can purchase them from my online store in January, or you can use a sponge doubler or a Stampin' sponge wedge, or you can join my team and you can order some for yourself at a discount, may I add, on the 1st of December. So that's super exciting. I am loving that. Now it does look a little funny at the moment, but once we die cut these, oh, the other thing I should say with the brush, it's a good tip to just, so I'm going to keep this brush, and I was just about to talk about that, Elizabeth. So you can wash these. It's good to get one of those makeup scrubby, spongy thingy-mabobbies, if you know what I'm talking about. They kind of sit on your fingers. It's silicone, it has different grooves. So in a bit of soap and that, and then when drying them, place them flat that way, not this way, because otherwise the water will pool into the bottom, into the base, or into the head. You want to sit them this way so that the water can drain out. And because they're water-based inks, I don't expect it to stain unless you leave it in for a while. But I'm going to keep this brush. I'll probably put a label here and say pinks, or even dark pinks. They're sold in sets of 3, but there's no limit to how many you can buy as a customer once the catalogue goes live, which is the 5th of January, my birthday. And yeah, so I'm going to keep these to colour family. So I'll have a few by the end, one for every colour family. But what I do is I do kind of brush them onto the scrap paper until you can kind of not see any colour coming off, and then you're fairly confident to not transfer colour. Good old, well, not really old, good old Bailey though. Let's do some die cutting. Should be able to die cut all 3. Well, that's just going to get too tricky. Got my dies. And unfortunately the magnetic plate had to be pulled, so I'm back to using washi tape to hold things in place. But I did love the magnetic die plate. Anyway, I'm sure we'll get an improved version soon. Line that up. The dies now are from Stampin' Up themselves, and they hug the image. Previously you used to have a white border around the stamped image when you line up the dies. Now you do not, you just fully hug the image, and I'll line up this one. Actually that might, yes it does, it fits that way, and we can cut all three at once. Yep. Yep. Hey Margaret, thanks for watching and sharing. Okay. Whoop. And run it through. Now this is the Stampin' Up's own die cutting machine. It is called the Stampin' Cut Emboss machine. And if you do not own a die cutting machine and you are looking to purchase one, I highly really recommend this one. It is amazing. And now that we've pulled the flowers off, you can see that that blending is just remaining on the tips of the flowers, and you're getting this beautiful tonal, and just lifts the flower and just adds a little bit more detail to the flower that otherwise would not be there, which I'm super duper excited about. Now we are going to bring in our card base here, and this flower will sit on that join but only attached to one side so that you can open the card. And I want to stamp the background, so I'm going to use Versamark ink, and I'm going to take the image. Hey Kathy. So I'm taking this one right here. It's the full poinsettia. So these three are kind of like the layers of poinsettias, and the other one is almost the full poinsettia. And by using, oops, it'd be good if I adhere it the right way. By using Versamark, it means I'll get a light stamping of that. Whoop. So I could use, this is Pear Pizzazz, so I could use Pear Pizzazz ink and stamp it on, and it'll be a dark green on top. But by choosing Versamark, it's still visible, but it's just that little bit lighter than if I was to stamp Pear Pizzazz, and that's the look I'm going for. And in fact, if my ink pad isn't fully inked, it doesn't really bother me. And I've got it open. That didn't fully stamp, but you know what, really, remember that we aren't hand stamping these cards, so a perfect stamped impression, I know we all try to strive for that, and certainly we can, and I could get a better impression if I used my foam mat underneath, and etc, etc. But remember, this is hand stamping, and a little bit of variation in the stamping is good. We're not mass-produced machines. We're hand makers, we're crafters, and we're not aiming for that. Now, which way did I decide this was going? If I was really thinking about this, I could have been really clever and stamped and had that continuous over that join there, but I wasn't thinking about it too much. But that's okay, it's all good. Now, because of the embossing, you could use the liquid multi-purpose glue to join all of these layers, but I found that the embossing makes that glue dry. Just take drying time a little bit longer. So I'm using my Stampin' Snail, or you can use a glue dot. I just felt like the snail was the most economical way of doing this. So isn't that pretty? Now imagine if we didn't add that shading to the tips of those flowers, which I certainly could have done after I've die cut them. It wouldn't have that same depth to the flower. And that is why I did it. We're going to add the flower there. And so I've got my fingers kind of holding where I don't want glue. And I'm adding glue to those petals there. so that I can adhere them down to this card front. So we're opening it up like so. Now while I have that out, I shall stamp on the inside my card insert. And I'm going to use a blushing bride. I could use the Rococo Rose, but it's a darker, stronger pink. Now I did not clean this after the Versamark, and that doesn't really matter. It's no big deal. There we go. Now I can add my card insert. Hardly notice the joining there. There we go. And a little bit more detail we shall add. Now we have, just trying to think, silver foil, is that in the catalogue? Let's just check. Yes, we have silver foil sheets, so I'm going to use some silver foil sheets. Oh. Aha, I remember why I'm not using them. I've only got a little bit left. That's okay, I'll be able to. I can work with that. I can definitely get one out of there. Bring back belly. Oh, thank you, Rosalie. So don't throw out your bits of foil. Use them as well as you can. It's a good thing I still had. Just trying to remember. I placed an order the other day. If I have these on my order, I don't think I do. I'm gonna have to order again. Oh, what a shame. Now the reason, oh, I used the silver embossing, so that's why I'm using the silver sprigs there. But it's just going to liven up that card. And I am hoping to get 3 of these. So let's see. Ooh, I'm going to get 3 out of this cardstock. Yay. Got enough. And then of course we still need our sentiment, which I do want to add to this card. Ooh. And one more, ooh, which can fit in here. That to the side. Now we're going to have to be sneaky with how we attach these, because our flower does come off that centerfold edge opening part. So that one we can just sneak in right there, and glue dots are perfect for these, which I'm low on as well, of course. So what I do is I pick up the glue dot and smoosh that in, making sure I'm there, smooshed. And I like to put the next 2 kind of opposite, diagonally opposite. So this is where we need to be a bit more clever. Now placing, because we don't want the glue dots to show up on that end and attach to the side of our card. So if I took note there, and that was slipped in, that part of the sprig did not show through. There we go. Wonderful. And again, coming a bit from there. I might, let's see. Is that on camera? Sometimes get carried away and not see if it's on camera or not. So I can, again, attach it to that same spot. Just there. Thank you, Tanya. This is similar to the card I made while we were away for on stage. Just make sure I slip it in. There. Fantastic. And you know what? Move them around a bit. Doesn't hugely matter that it's coming off the edge there. Let's take a look at the stamp set. May the magic and wonder bloom this holiday. That would be lovely. And how shall we add that? I feel like we should add that. Oh, need a good tidy up, but no, that's the thank you one. There we go. There it is. We will stamp it. We'll heat emboss this right there using Versamark. So I'm using the same pink again and silver embossing powder. It doesn't matter if it's slightly off because we're going to use a die or a punch or something to cut that out. Though that is very, very crooked. Stamp 2. We can decide which one we end up using. I can always use another on another project. Oops. The problem with doing that was I wiped off some of that. There we go. Once again, I forgot to put the paper underneath, and I've got embossing powder all over my table. You know, because that's what I gotta do. Let's heat set that. There we go, it's starting to heat set. I think if I angle it this way you can see better on the camera. Fingers getting hot. The funny thing is the first one looks better. All good, and I've been thinking. Which ones? We've got this lovely die, which is from Painted Petals. Well, the good thing is that we can position the die to match the angle. Or we've got this pretty die. Well, let's go with the Painted Petals one. So I'm kind of, what I'm going to do to line this up, I'm going to line that die edge up with that bottom and then move it down slowly at that same angle. And that should, fingers crossed, give us a straight, what do we call it, edge with the stamping. And that I will make sit kind of right there. And when you open it, you can see it in full. When you close it, the poinsettia kind of covers it up. And the best way to line that up is to use the liquid adhesive glue, because that will give you some wiggle room, as I like to say. That's why it's my favorite adhesive. So there we go. A pink and green poinsettia slimline gatefold card with some fun techniques. And if you wanted to, you could add a Whisper White card insert on the back of there, and if you needed an extra long space for writing a message, that could be the way to go. But otherwise, I'm going to stick to there, otherwise I'm going to run out of things to say to someone. I need to make them snappy. There's lots of Christmas cards to write. So there we go. That is Fantastic Fun Folds. You'll find all the measurements on my blog next week. I will pop that up along with this video onto YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll already have access to that blog post. Everything I've used today, I do sell on my online store, and I have a customer loyalty program, which for every $50 you spend gives you a sticker, and collect 10 stickers and get a free $50 worth of products from me as just a thank you and appreciation. I really do a happy dance every time someone places an order with me. It's quite special to be chosen to shop with. So I really appreciate all my customers. Thank you so much. And I also really appreciate all those people who watch my videos. You support me so much just by watching and commenting and liking or laughing at me or loving the video. So I appreciate you too. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Wednesday, my next live. Okay, bye for now.